I'm Mike Wallace. Tonight's guest, Aldous Huxley, is a man of letters, as disturbing as he is distinguished. Who and what are the enemies of freedom here in the United States?
Well, I don't think you can say who in the United States. I don't think there are any sinister persons deliberately trying to rob people of their freedom. But I do think, first of all, that there are a number of impersonal forces which are pushing in the direction of less and less freedom. And I also think that there are a number of technological devices which anybody who wishes to use can use to accelerate this process of going away from freedom, of imposing control.
What are these forces and these devices, Mr. Huxley?
The first of them is not exceedingly important in the United States at the present time, though very important in other countries. This is the force which in general terms can be called overpopulation, the mounting pressure of population pressing upon existing resources. Today, the population of the Earth is rising at such a rate that it will double in half a century. Well, another force which I think is very strongly operative in this country is the force of what may be called over-organization. As technology becomes more and more complicated, it becomes necessary to have more and more elaborate organizations, more hierarchical organizations. Now, I think what is going to happen in the future is the dictators will find, as the old saying goes, that you can do everything with bayonets except sit on them. That if you want to preserve your power indefinitely, you have to get the consent of the ruled. And this they will do partly by drugs, as I foresaw in Brave New World, partly by these new techniques of propaganda. Once you've established a principle that something works, you can be absolutely sure that the technology of it is going to improve steadily. I mean, what does a democracy depend on? A democracy depends on the individual voter making an intelligent and rational choice for what he regards as his enlightened self-interest in any given circumstance. Well, I mean, here, this whole question of children, I think, is a terribly important one, because children are quite clearly much more suggestible than the average grown-up. And again, suppose that for one reason or another, all the propaganda was in the hands of one or very few agencies, you would have an extraordinarily powerful force playing on these children, who after all are going to grow up and be adults quite soon.
Why is it that the wrong people will use these various devices and for the wrong motives?
Well, I think one of the reasons is that these are all instruments for obtaining power, and obviously the passion for power is one of the most moving passions that exist in man, and after all, this is all democracies are based on the proposition that power is very dangerous and that it's extremely important not to let any one man or any one small group have too much power for too long a time. I think it's terribly important to insist on individual values, group morality, group ethic, which speaks about the group as though the group was somehow more important than the individual. But this seems, as far as I'm concerned, to be in contradiction with what we know about the genetical makeup of human beings, that every human being is unique. And I think it's extremely important for us to stress this in all our educational life. And I would say it's also very important to teach people to be on their guard against the sort of verbal booby traps into which they're always being led, to analyze the kind of things that are said to them.
Is freedom necessary?
As far as I'm concerned, it is, yes.
Is it necessary for a productive society?
Yes, I should say it is. I mean, a genuinely productive society. I mean, I think you could produce plenty of goods without much freedom, but I think the whole sort of creative life of man is ultimately impossible without a considerable measure of individual freedom, that initiative, creation, all these things which we value, and I think value properly, are impossible without a large measure of freedom.
Soviet Russia, it is strong and getting stronger economically, militarily. At the same time, it's developing its art forms, pretty well. It seems not unnecessarily to squelch the creative urge among its people, and yet it is not a free society.
It's not a free society, but here is something very interesting, that those members of the society, like the scientists who are doing the creative work, are given far more freedom than anybody else. I mean, it's a privileged aristocratic society in which, provided that they don't poke their noses into political affairs, these people are given a great deal of prestige, a considerable amount of freedom, and a lot of money. And I think what we're going to see is a people on the whole with very little freedom, but with an oligarchy on top, enjoying a considerable measure of freedom and a very high standard of living.
And the people down below, the epsilons down below,
enjoying very little.
And you think that that kind of situation can long endure?
I think it can certainly endure much longer than a situation in which everybody is kept down. Because, I mean, they can certainly get their technological and scientific results on such a basis.
Aldous Huxley, 1958, with Mike Wallace, absolutely calling it. I love playing that video because it is such an accurate portrayal of what we are looking at today, which is an overabundance of technology, an underabundance of personalization and just human-to-human relationships and contact. And for everything that feels weird, there's drugs, right? Everything that feels off or everything that makes us feel down, upset, they got a pill for that. They got a shot for that. And that's the world we're living in. And he called that back in 1958. That's why I love that video so much. A Brave New World, the book Aldous Huxley is probably most famous for, which essentially predicts all of these things. It's just fascinating. So I'm going to hold a space today. Welcome, everyone. If this is your first time checking out my channel on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you're watching me on X, if you want to repost a space, that always helps. I really appreciate that too. You can comment at any time. I'd love to hear from you and get your input and feedback and all that good stuff. The reason I'm having a space, I wanted to tell this. It's kind of a funny story that happened to me when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I found myself in the middle of a Spies home. Well, it was actually a cabin. It was a 4-story, if I remember correctly, 4, possibly 5 stories if you count the very bottom level. Cabin is gigantic. I had this friend back in the day who was a really, really good snowboarder. And he asked me if I wanted to come with him. So he was getting a sponsorship from Oakley. And he needed someone to come up with him to the mountain. And the mountain in Portland, it's Mount Hood, is kind of the main mountain just outside of Portland. It's like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Portland. Really beautiful area. So he wanted me to go up with him to his uncle's cabin. Excuse me, sorry if my mic popped there. But he wanted me to go up with him to his uncle's cabin and he had this really nice camera and get some good shots of him doing different tricks, jumps, things of that nature from different angles, and had this whole plan. It was awesome. And also he was going to teach me how to snowboard because I had never snowboarded before. And because his uncle had this sweet cabin at the bottom of this hill. Like, we didn't have to pay for any lifts or anything. We basically, as many times as we could walk up to the top of the little mountain by their house, as many times as we could go down it. So it was just free snowboarding all weekend. It was great. When we got there, I thought, damn, this is a big cabin. Like, Unc must be rich, right? Like, Unc must have some money. You get there, and like the bottom level is like a garage entryway, and it's just full of skis, snowboards, snowmobiles. There's a little cat buggy thing with the snow tracks on it. I'm thinking, well, loaded, right? So we get inside, and the bottom level, as soon as you step inside the actual cabin, the entire level is like a bar. I mean, like a bar, like seats, booze, pool table, a bar up at the front with all the liquors behind the bar. You know, I mean, this is a legitimate bar. It looks like a dive bar. Jukebox, all the things that you would see in like an actual bar. It was wild. I was like, oh my God, people live like this. Must be nice. So we kind of make ourselves at home. My sleeping area is like way up at the top on the 5th floor or something. It's this gigantic room, king size, but like all the rooms were just huge. And the entire cabin was just over the top luxurious. I mean, there was an elevator in it. The stairs, you know, you had wraparound stair. Just immaculate cabin. On the outside, looks like this old cabin. On the inside, it's it could be on MTV Cribs. It's just insane. And I'm very impressed. So the first day we go out, we go snowboarding, we take some pictures, we good Lord. Okay, so we take some pictures, we do some other things, and I'm having a great time. It's a good day. It's a fun day. So, that night, my buddy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" Yeah, dude, show me something cool. Well, this is the 90s, so people didn't have cell phones back then. People had pagers, right? Even I had a pager in high school. You had to have a pager. And his uncle had this pager. He's like, check out this pager. And it looked like a normal Motorola pager, you know? And by the way, this is like the middle of the night. We had to like sneak out, make sure everybody was in bed. My friend knew about this, and so he had to plan for everybody to go to sleep so that he could show me this. So we're sneaking around in the middle of the night, and he pulls out this pager, and it looks like a Motorola pager, and he pulls it out of the thing, and it unfolds into a 22. It's like, holy shit. My mind was blown. Well, first off, I don't think that that's legal. Second, I'd never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, it was incredible. So I'm like, wow, okay, well, why does your uncle's pager turn into a gun? And he was like, well, it's kind of the family secret, and you know, we're really good friends, and my dad said I could kind of let you know a little bit, and that is that my uncle he's a spy. He didn't tell me which intelligence community he I'm sorry, which intelligence agency he worked for, just that he was in the intelligence community. And I go on to learn that every so often, maybe once, twice a year, he'll have these parties at different locations, sometimes at these really swanky hotels like in downtown Portland. And it will be black tie only. There will be mayors, senators, congressmen, representatives, very powerful people. And my mind was blown. So then the rest of the weekend was basically, we were doing the snowboarding thing, we were taking the pictures thing, but also he's showing me these cool little gadgets and things on the side. So for instance, he had his car, you couldn't break the glass on his car. Like he took like a ski pole, a bat, like what, it just whacking away. You couldn't dent it. You couldn't break the glass. It was, from what I understand, bulletproof. I mean, at least what he told me. We didn't like test it or anything. But bulletproof, I mean, crazy, crazy stuff. So there was a pager gun. There was the indestructible car. And the cabin, I found out, was actually not his uncle's, but whatever agency he worked for is kind of wine and dine operational place. So if they need to, get off grid, or if they need to impress somebody, whatever they need, if they need a big ass cabin that's going to knock somebody's socks off when they walk into it, they got that. Just like, if they need a yacht, they got that. And I'm in little teeny tiny Oregon. So I'm thinking they probably have this stuff in every state in the nation. And mind you, this was the 90s, the mid 90s. And they had an operation like that. And I mean, the cabin had to be at least, I would say, I've been in real estate, and I would say that cabin, if I were to list it how it was today, would probably be in the $5 to $6 million category. I mean, it was that impressive. I wish I could remember where it was, but even if I did remember where it was, I wouldn't say it because I'm a patriot, damn it, and I would never do anything like that. But just for my own personal knowledge, I wish I could go visit it again because it was a very, very impressive place. So that's the time I went to a spy's cabin. And I know it's not as crazy as you think, but it happened. I wasn't there performing any business. Well, actually, I guess I was. I was there taking pictures of my friend so he could get a deal with Oakley. But yeah, this shit's out there, y'all. I mean, it's everywhere. And I think, like, we all know that, but to actually see it and step foot in it and be a part of it, and God, see just the grandeur of it is crazy. It's funny that, our government, they spare no expense on the luxuries, but then they pay their workers not that well. And they don't treat them that great either. So at any rate, that's my story of going to a spy cabin. I talk about the CIA a lot and the intelligence community a lot on my podcast. And I started thinking about it and I thought I never told this story. So I wanted to share this story. Not very exciting, I know, but I've been in a spy's house. Have you been in a spy's house? Neener. Actually, maybe some of you probably have, now that I think about it. So I'm working on editing a final piece with myself, Black Magnet. and Nathaniel Hanks. I always want to say Daniels. I don't know why, but myself, Black Magnet, and Nathaniel Hanks. I'm just wrapping up the editing of that now, and we are talking about some pretty crazy spy stuff. We were talking about this documentary called "Everything's a Rich Man's Trick," and we watched a little bit of it live as we were streaming. Boy, that documentary is freaking wild. You hear Aldous Huxley talk about like they were really worried about population control. That was something that these rich, powerful people were really worried about back then. And then like they basically wipe out like an entire race of people or try to. It just makes you think, makes you wonder. And my camera's doing this weird focus thing. All right, y'all. Well, hey, that is my story. Nothing more to it. I just wanted to share it because it is crazy and it was fun. That friend of mine, we actually ended up getting in a really bad car accident together a little bit later in life, and that was pretty traumatic. But we all made it through that okay. Thank goodness. So this documentary, Everything's a Rich Man's Trick, talks about, good Lord, everything from like World War II and a little bit pre-World War II on. And I was really digging it because, well, I started the space with Aldous Huxley, and I think that he was absolutely right on the money with things. So for me, the leap to some of the claims they're making in that documentary isn't that far of a leap. So it's pretty interesting. So I think once I finish editing and complete this podcast and get it out with Flack and Nathaniel, I think what I'm going to do is probably try to get another one going just on the theories behind that documentary alone, because it's like a 3-hour documentary. So I don't think like watching it and talking about it, I mean, you'd end up with like a 10-hour space. So I think what I'm going to do is take the time to watch it on my own, kind of soak it in, get together some bullet points, and then have another, either a space or just do an old regular podcast about it. At any rate, thanks for joining me, y'all. I hope you enjoyed my spy cabin story. As brief and silly as it is, that's what happened, believe it or not. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all around in some spaces and in podcasts. You know what? I am really digging the supportive vibe I'm getting in X right now. I know that there's some back and forth drama between certain folks, but that's usually ignorant folks causing drama for no reason. To the people that are actually producing and creating and spending their time trying to contribute and make things for the community to enjoy, thank you. Big shout out Red Panda. Big shout out Tupacabra. Big shout out Jess. Big shout out oh my God, like there's so many people in the community that do wonderful things every single day and don't get caught up in the negative shit. And I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all for any bit of support you've shown me by, tuning in, sharing my stuff. It's just been an awesome experience for me. And as far as all the drama and all that, I'm good. Came here to talk about stuff that interests me and fascinates me. And if that's your thing too, I think we'll get along. And I hope to see more of you. All right, enough of that nonsense. You all have a great evening. I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.